Boom. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today. Hope you guys all had wonderful holidays with your family, your friends, your loved ones, dancing, sharing gifts and presents with one another. Had a great time over here in the jungle. We're going to take a look at Bitcoin today, as per usual, our North Star and guiding light to our general theme and thesis to this entire kind of digital property arena. Anyways, we're also going to take a look at Ethereum and Avalanche, but we're going to start off with a bit of philosophy on long-term investing. I think it's important to repeat mantras. Any good mantra. I've studied percussion my entire life, so today's live stream is just going to be a riffing and ranting on that while we take a look at where we are within the charts as well. So we start pretty casually here with the fear and greed index on the full screen now. This last 3 months here has had a really nice rounded bottom. A big fan of rounded bottoms. And because of this, I suspect what we're seeing is a much more intelligent long-term investor here. So we're seeing a much different market than we did in 2017, very noticeably so. Even the distribution here is more or less appears to be managed by more significant investors. So what's important to notice here? Okay, well, when we look at the outside story, I think Michael Saylor makes a great flagpole here of just always investing. And we've repeated this idea that a good investment today is a good investment tomorrow, will be a good investment for the foreseeable future if you have it correct. So a lot of people get stuck on the kind of minutia or the day-to-day time frame. Even here, as we scroll out to a year, we see back in May to June, when we had this first kind of drop into around 30,000, these were really big fear areas here, and each of the LPS. And that's actually a general function that you see. This is one of the reasons why I've remained bullish this whole time, is that this looks like an LPS to me, not a distribution. And it's one of the difficult aspects about understanding market psychology and market movement as a whole. A lot of us, myself included, will get stuck in the small time frames, and it's not until you go out to the larger time frame here we take a look at Bitcoin since 2018, and we flash back to when we started this bull market back in August 2020, effectively. Now, there's a few things that started this bull market. Primarily, was a lot of money being injected into the financial system. Like some $9 trillion. If you look at the monetary supply, it's increased like 300%. We very commonly make this showcase between the S&P 500 and the M2 monetary supply. So we've seen a massive increase in the monetary supply, and Bitcoin is really designed as a digital first-time asset in this sector. So there's a lot more volatility within other things like Avalanche and Ethereum, but this is why we use Bitcoin right now as a guiding light. It's been here the longest, and it's going to stick around as a technology. We can rely on that. The others I all feel like are still venture capital, which means a lot of upside and the potential risk of losing all of the investment, which is fun. I think that's fun personally, but anyways. So through this process of accumulation and distribution, we want to ask ourselves, where are we? And for the last few months, I've asserted that I believe we are in an intermediary trading range before we see a kind of final top retest, and then continue on. I don't know, probably for another 300 to 600 days of accumulation. So I think we're going to probably go to around $90,000 to $140,000. I'm going to stand by that. And then we're probably going to come down and even retest areas like maybe 40 to 35,000, depending on some wicks. We've seen a serious amount of accumulation here. So when we are taking into account the fear, especially this nice rounded bottom we're witnessing right now, and then we take a look at the Bitcoin percent of balances on exchange, we're seeing a really nice, consistent, well, first off, removal of supply from the market, even when it's big. And I think that what we're going to witness is that consistent ability to, let's say, accumulate a few $100 million in Bitcoin every 2 weeks seems to be at the very kind of basis, that the illiquid nature and supply characteristics of an asset like Bitcoin are still going to allow it to be very volatile for short periods of time. The smarter investors don't want the price to run up and shoot up into the middle of nowhere, right? As a good investment, we want it actually to average around the price that we would want over the next few years and accumulate around that. We saw that in Tesla and a bunch of other tech style ideas. Zoom is another great one, very long accumulation period. So because the asset is illiquid and the supply is so liquid, this accumulation that we're witnessing, this constant downtrend, again, if you look out pretty much since the pandemic, we've just consistently started to absorb supply. And again, we have been lower than this in the past, but this is also due to the mechanism of the stock to flow model pushing new supply out into the market. So there can be a new miners selling effectively. So even though we could get caught up in the day-to-day price range, this long-term story is way more important. And it looks to me like it's basically a giant accumulation range still. Again, I think, hold on, we'll go back here. So this larger story where these two nice peaks, right? It could very easily deceive you as, let's say, a double top. A double top this is actually still a highly probable situation. Still, it's not off the table. And by highly probable, I mean like in the realm of 20 to 30%. I think it's around 70% that we're going to continue higher. So I'm quite confident in a confidence interval, and like from a hypothetical perspective, I'm quite confident that we're going to continue higher. But a lot of the times, what we would look at this and think this is a double top, but if we take into account the long-term accumulation, we're talking over 1,200 days, 1,100 days effectively before the bull market started, where we had this really, really long accumulation cycle prior. Back in 2017, we saw something very, very similar. It wasn't until the earlier days, or I guess in the reverse of this, it was in the earlier days that we saw shorter accumulation cycles. And I think we'll see that again. But even here, with Bitcoin in 2013 to 2017, you saw a 1,200-day accumulation cycle followed by approximately a 600-day bull market. Now, the future and the past don't repeat identically. And especially since 2017 was full of such a volatile investment strategy, I think this entire market has aged and matured, I guess, into what it's going to be, and it will continue to do so. But this long accumulation period we see should equate to somewhere between like 600 to 800 days of market cycle up, especially because the bigger players now too. So we're at 462 days into this market cycle, and that's about halfway through. Well, so I guess the last time we did a how far through the market cycle video, where we were about halfway through. So now we're probably on 60 to 70% through the market cycle. I think we're going to get one again jump up to 90, 120, maybe 140 on some wicks. We'll come back down, and the bigger players will try to accumulate again closer to this $40,000 to $60,000 range, and that will be the likely bottom, and continue out for the next 3 to 5 years. So I feel we're very, very confident about Bitcoin. We've seen Bitcoin go public basically this year. So just consistent strategy, understanding the macro investment thesis here. They're printing dollars. They've been destroying currency. Again, it doesn't matter what culture you've been in. Like if you went time traveling right now, we flew back into the past. We're like, hey, what do these other cultures do? They do the exact same thing. They denigrate their currencies. You see inflation and boom bust cycles within the culture. And right now we're witnessing basically a global boom bust cycle, something that we'd never witnessed before. So the effects of that are going to have these interesting transitory appearances. And Bitcoin is an evolution of that transitory experience of how do people more, let's say, proactively manage their wealth against the nature of these governments as they get bigger, by nature, want to offer the people more free things to be voted in and be liked. And then through the process of giving away these free things, don't recognize that inflation is directly hidden underneath there. This has been a consistent story that the human species has repeated, and this is what we're betting on. This is why effectively just being in the market is a smart thing to do. So with things like Bitcoin, just to keep accumulating. Now, when we get into the Ethereum conversation or Avalanche, this is what uniquely also solidifies my position about this being a continuation of the bull market. We are seeing a very nice reaccumulation after decline here on Ethereum as well. And, the general argument would be, oh, this is the double top. But here our market structure is much much more apparent. Even in Avalanche, it's actually looking very, very strong. So I think we have a big leg up still, especially for assets that are relatively unknown. Like Avalanche is still relatively unknown compared to something like Ethereum. So this nice reaccumulation range here for Ethereum also leads me to believe that we are bullish still. Looks like a beautiful LPS. We see consistent accumulation, but there is the potential for the downside. Again, if we can't get back above 59, we're going to come down, maybe a little bit lower, back down to like the reaccumulation of 25, maybe even hit a 15. But what we know from a macro perspective is just to keep accumulating. But again, it's when we take this broader perspective, not just of the fear, but of the market index entirely, the recognition that they're just going to keep printing capital. These look like bullish structures because the market sentiment is, hey, we can just print money ever. Let's all get high on monetary heroin. This feels great, guys. Check out my new yacht. And that's what we're witnessing. This is a direct consequence of inflation. 100%. All of these things, almost all the things you were witnessing on Twitter, the valuations of NFTs, these are a consequence of inflation. And it's if you do your research, you do your homework, you'll recognize that a lot of these instances, especially the superficial instances, are very noticeable in times of hyperinflation. The government just prints an insane amount of paper capital. Now, we've talked about this before. The US dollar has the ability to spread everywhere effectively. So inflation is actually hampered and tampered down by its ability to escape into foreign niche asset investment areas like a lagoon or a bay. Okay, but this larger sequence market structure, all the fundamentals, what appears to be an LPS range on Ethereum, Bitcoin, and Avalanche performing what appears to be this very beautiful Livermore pattern outside of the accumulation. Now, this is the kind of last and final step for these accumulation cylinders. We've talked about them many times before. They can be very, very powerful. I would make a better argument this is the actual cylinder you would want to have been in back when we were looking at the first cylinder around August of this year. Yeah, between September, October, August through October, this area here. Yeah, August through October, bam. This area here around $16 was a fantastic double set of entries as well. We talked about this readily in the private group. The reason being here, beautiful accumulation pattern, lots of room for upside in something like Avalanche, very strong technological founder, akin and astute to the more professional mindset of how to build and again communicate with some of these companies as well. So we're making a bet on the founder and the technology here. If this becomes a 0.7, Avalanche and likely Solana as well too, FTM are all going to go a ton higher. There's probably still room for a 5 or 10x in some of these because they're so, I think, relatively undervalued for the potential still. You know, speculation is also based on future potential, right? I think understanding the future potential here is still really important, a really important function. But Avalanche looks like it's got a lot of room for upside. So in general, the market sentiment looks bullish almost all the way across the board. Oh, there we go. And because of this LPS range looks super awesome to me. So here we are. Yeah, this looks like a beautiful LPS range. Again, we want to get a confirmation of holding above $61,000. That would be great. That'll be the definition of going higher. And even if we don't, okay, crap. Well, my 70% feeling of bullishness. And again, I've remained bullish the whole way down this channel. I think this is an LPS. We're seeing signals in the fear and the price. And again, in the underlying fundamentals, the government's just talking about be printing more money and giving it away to people. Like, don't worry, we got you guys all covered to give you more cash, okay, right? That's all you need. The purpose doesn't matter in life. You can cover it all with money. No, it's not true. Anyways, this is what boom bust cycles look like. So what does that mean? Well, it means we're nearing the end of the episode. So thank you all for joining us today. Give us a thumbs up if you like this content. I just want to go over kind of macro thesis, and people don't get too caught up in the day-to-day price swings. It's really easy to make mistakes by moving too quickly instead of repeating some of these simple mantras. Heads I win, tails I only lose a little. Buy right, sit tight. This understanding that's kind of a wisdom passed on through experience, you end up in these really short philosophical mantras. Like if you break an idea of around asymmetry apart, that there's all this room for upside and very limited downside, a month-to-month investing strategy here, looking at all this like venture capital, there's so much potential for you to make millions of dollars here, because we understand the underlying fundamentals and the infinite scalability of technology, or not infinite, but at least near infinite to how many people there are, not like a storefront. So we'll do some question and comment sitch now. So if you guys want to chat, that's what we're gonna do. We'll just take a look. Let's get it here. Okay, Veritasium is the new Bitcoin. We bought Veritasium back in 2017, back when Ether Delta. Geez, for those of you that remember Ether Delta, that means you earned a Veteran Star badge. Congratulations! It was the very first smart contract platform. Fork Delta came next, a variation of that open source kind of, but it was very slow, it was very clunky, it was quite expensive to use, and the automated market maker really just blew the door. Have done such an amazing thing for these decentralized markets, but it was kind of the first place you could see these things. So I bought Veritasium there, did really well, and then it dropped dramatically in price, and I still have all of that Veritasium, and this is the essence of that. I generally am not trying to sell investments. I just want more of them. Now, for a long time, it was worth nothing. Now it's worth more than nothing. But that doesn't matter. The strategy is to look at the potential value. So again, whether Veritasium performs well from here on out or not is not really a consequence of my doing. And this is what I like about it the most is we did our research, we made an investment, we walk away. This is generally, I think, one of the best ways to go. And you should increase the threshold as you increase your interest, right? So had Veritasium kept my interest, I would have kept investing there. Bitcoin has kept my interest this entire time. Sovereign free choice money, I like that a lot, right? Some of these other applications, nothing really excited me as much. DeFi was pretty cool, but damn, the play to earn sector. So I see some of you guys are asking about Star Atlas. I think that whether any of these are going to be successful or not, again, I have no idea. It's not my job here. It's not to pick and choose winners. My job is to find the theme, try to understand why I like it, the potential that's there, and the play to earn sector has an enormous amount of potential. I really think whatever we think it's possible or capable of doing, it's probably going to do more than that. So it's the on-ramp to adoption, in my opinion, that we had all been waiting for that extra 2 billion people to join this community, participate with their time, and earn a way into the digital ecosystem. That's extremely important, and I have not seen anything offer that. I thought Post to Earn would do it, or maybe like some of these other things. Anyways, I thought it might be, like Steam It, that kind of idea, but we didn't see it there. So I've been looking in other areas in this play to earn, the social impact, the uptake, this kind of brush fire of adoption inside of the Philippines with Axes has just been amazing. And I love being not proven wrong, but I love being so in awe of the potential of what markets will do to fill a gap and help fix things quite often, right? And this is just one of those magical moments where the play to earn sector is not just a lucrative place to be, but it offers a unique potential to a lot of people who are in a third world country playing a video game for maybe an extra hour or two a day to have an extra $5 a day, which adds up to significant sums of capital in terms of the level of disparity between some of these currencies, where you have a total degradation of the Venezuelan bolivar or the Turkish lira now. Multiple countries, their inflation is destroying their currency. And you see in the Philippines that Smooth Love Potion is maybe a more relatively acceptable currency because it has at least some upside potential. Whereas we know these governments have no upside potential. They're horrible at their job. That's how they got it. We're going to tell you what to do. That's not a great job. You have to be pretty damn good. Like, you think I'm just going to hire a personal trainer and you guys are stuck with it now? So effectively what you're seeing is the deflationary process of technology putting the power hopefully back in the hands of the people. So I'm really excited about the play to earn sector in broad mass spectrum. Just as a heads up, we like making early investments, and there's a bunch of really cool projects out there. If you follow us on Twitter, there we go. Follow us on Twitter. We're constantly sharing stuff here. Decimated, Illumia, let's see, Avocado Guild. We've got Brendan Wong from Avocado Guild on tonight. Solus, this whole kind of digital metaverse sector I'm really excited about because I think there's such a unique potential behind it. So Solus is another one we're really excited about. So be sure to follow us on Twitter. If you haven't, also join the private group. I'm not going to push any harder than that, though. Let's see a few more questions and thoughts before I jump off. Love the live stream. Was happy to be here. Good, always good to drop in and chat again. I appreciate all your guys' support. How do you feel about XRP? Meh, it's kind of boring. XRP is boring in my opinion. I'm not really interested in what the banks are going to do to remain successful. Well, I'm interested. This is why, again, the play to earn sector is just such a fascinating topic to me. Like, yes, the potential of being lucrative, but more importantly, I think for me, there's a philosophical reason why I like this sector. And this is always a better driver, in my opinion, is find the things that you're passionate about and focus on that, not just what drives the monetary. Because you have a bunch of money, it's not going to change how you feel on the inside. Like, how you're meditating. I mean, it helps solve money problems, but in terms of like when I sit down at the yoga mat or something, in my yoga practice or my meditation or my, like with music, has always remained this kind of awe-inspiring realization that I'm like a child at the foot of the darkness of infinity. And it's just happy to be here effectively. So those practices I think are really, really important beyond like not just what you do with your time, but how you invest and where you invest that time. So even though you could have made a bunch of money from XRP, and again, this is the heads I win, tails I only lose a little. If you follow the mantra here, then you can only lose a little, right? So it shouldn't matter what I think. And this is the fun part of what I feel we're trying to share here with everyone, is that this is a really easily repeatable, successful strategy that anyone can use to make millions of dollars. And it's worked for hundreds of years, basically, because human nature has not changed. So the Wyckoff method is just a way to us to kind of visualize that. And again, I think that the long-term investment strategy, anytime like you kind of compare winners and losers on the short term, it's really easy to underestimate just what one moment can do for someone's life. You can change everything in that one moment. This is a sentiment a lot of people try to pass on. And this is a true story. What often ends up looking like overnight success is a bunch of years of hard work. Now, you can get lucky. This is 100% true. The wheel of fortune always operates this way, but sustainable passion and focused interest through whatever you like to do, research or listening or sharing or building community. Maybe it's writing code. That way you focus your time that's important to you, I think is really what drives the narrative of wealth at large. And when you accomplish that, your bank account or your Bitcoin, hopefully account, I give a shit about your bank account. Your Bitcoin account will grow. Okay, let's see. We'll take a look at a few more thoughts. I'm just riffing and ranting here. Do you spearfish there surfing? I do like to surf, and God, the waves right now, I could probably go surf. Have you been paying more attention to Phantom? I like Phantom. Yeah, I like Phantom. I'm not going to, that's all I really say there. Ant shares. Yeah, we got in on ant shares. So I did sell a bunch of new. That was that was a rough time. Now I lost a bunch of money in 2017 trying to build something else. So we made it. Well, you got to be able to have it to lose in the first place, I guess. But yeah, ant shares. That was fun. Into Neo. Ant shares into Neo. It was a fun ride. You can go. I think those videos. I'm pretty sure those videos are still there. That was after my Bitcoin will go to $6 million video. I'm like, look, guys, ant shares is like, you always want legal contracts with different languages, right? So maybe ant shares is like the Chinese contract version of Ethereum. I'm like, this is a pretty easy venture bet. Worked out great. Anyways, well, I also spent and then lost on something. So it worked out great. Okay, next thought here. Just want to wish you happy holidays. Happy holidays. Thank you for all the info you provide. Your channel's been a huge help. Oh, that's great. Great to hear. That's the point of all this, is trying to share the things that I've done incorrectly, and then focus you in on the things that have worked the most successfully with the least amount of effort, so that anyone can basically come here, show up, repeat this process, and find success. That's what I've always tried to strive as I don't want to say an educator. I've taught music, like guitar, to like ages 5 to 20. And generally you want to remove as much of the friction as possible from someone's first experiences with a new instrument, so that they don't get pushed away and they can actually spend more time at the plate. So we're always looking for strategy to nurture that relationship. And this month by month, like once every new moon, these repeatable mantras is so much more important than the hype and emotionality that a lot of people propagate. Now, the downside to this is that YouTube propagates things that are hype and emotional, but it's actually the exact opposite of what you would want to be doing as a good investor. But being committed and having conviction, that's a different level. Being passionate, this is a different level of the sentiment here, and it's definitely necessary. Like to make an investment in Bitcoin before you know it's valuable requires conviction and passion to begin with. So you shouldn't underestimate that. But it goes back to our first thought here. Investing in the things that you find most interesting leads to a positive result. And again, you keep showing up on a daily basis, and it makes the strategy so much easier because you're going to find success every step of the way. Instead of picking up the instruments, you like go to use leverage, you lose a bunch of money, you get injured, and your finger hurts because you're using the steel string guitar. It's not in open tuning, so every time you touch it, sounds shitty. You got to retune it now again too, and and then all of a sudden you have someone who would have made like a great investment as a musician if you encourage the kind of meditative aspect of it that are just totally gone. Because it can be very frustrating and very emotional. I mean, most people will probably never experience the amount of emotion that goes into owning a portfolio until they start doing it, because you have to watch significant sums of your potential net worth change around all the time. Yeah, so I don't remember how we asked what thought that was, but there we go. I do remember the Neo days, yeah. Love this guy. Thanks, Alan. I appreciate that. What do you think of time? Yeah, a huge fan of anything on Avalanche on DeFi. We're trying to do focus more in that area as well, but currently we're just we chose the thematic interest in the play to earn sector the last few months. So I just wanted to stick there for, kind of choose one instrument at a time, or try to play one instrument at a time. I can play the didgeridoo, the drums, and the guitar probably all at the same time. In fact, I know I can do that, but often it's better to just focus enough time on one instrument at a time. So the play to earn sector has largely been our interest, and the people that work in that space too. So I like time. I like the whole Avalanche DeFi sector. I'm bullish on all that. Get that. To your best, happy holidays to you and yours, as I reflect in the same bag at you guys. Awesome. So happy or real, not cocky. I can definitely be motherfucking cocky. That'd be and humble too. This is always an interesting thing too. Humble is a changing dynamic, but I appreciate that as well. I don't think of myself as humble. That's for sure. I think of myself as stupid, maybe, and that's what appears as humility. I'm like, see, I think I'm super smart, so probably I've got it wrong. So let's go with I don't know a whole lot, and this might work out better. That appears as humility, but it's actually just a function of me assuming I might be stupid, because the world's giant. So I appreciate that, but it's probably not humility. Awesome. Well, this has been a lot of fun, Bear family. I appreciate the support. Join the private channel. If you haven't yet, join our free newsletter. Shout out to Paul and Zubin and Charlie for helping out with all the content recently. Really appreciate that. To all the private Bear family as well. We're gonna do a private little get together here probably around the new year. Been super busy, working on lots of fun stuff. It'll be great to drop in with everyone. So if you're in the private group, that will be in the webinars section. Try to do that about once a month. And then, I look forward to chatting with you guys then. To you and the Arcane Bear.